Okay, here we are. Hey, wake up. Let's get this going.
Where's my coffee?
We've got a really important topic today.
Life after death.
Life after death. Do you believe in life after love? I can feel something inside me say,
I really don't think it's strong enough now. Do you believe in love after love?
We've just, quick announcement. We've pivoted into a singing podcast where all of the Jewish wisdom will be sung by Rabbi Teller.
It's easy.
I'll do vocal percussion.
Yes. I'm here with Greg, and I'm here to say we got
life
a
after
podcast
death is
the way.
A-okay. Okay, we won't quit our day jobs.
Okay.
Of podcasting about Jewish wisdom.
Listen, you got to do what you got to do.
Life after death.
Life after death. Do we believe in life after death?
I think it's interesting that we even phrase it life after death.
Or what?
Because my initial thought was like the life, everyone else's life after like a loved one's death. Like I thought that maybe you were talking about like, oh, maybe we're going to be talking about like the process of grief. But you're talking about like
what
the
happens,
soul's
what
life.
happens to us after we live in this planet for 120 years.
And then take the eternal slumber.
Take the eternal slumber. What happens to our souls? So I think we should start there because I do believe we touched on a soul a little bit. We as Jewish people believe that we are a soul and that we are a body. And we are made up of both.
As two distinct entities.
Two distinct entities. We are a soul and we are a body.
Okay.
We are the horse and the rider.
Okay.
We are, in Hebrew, the neshama and the goof. The neshama means the soul, and the goof means the body.
The goof.
The goof. Okay. And we believe that the body wants us to die, wants to kill us, wants us to be fat, wants us to have complete hedonism, wants us to be comfortable, wants us to die. That's what we believe the body wants. The body wants complete...
I mean, I don't know if complete hedonism equals wants to die. I guess I understand the idea that like if you completely focus your intent of life on just like body pleasures, we've talked about that, then that could lead to an early death.
An early death. The body doesn't necessarily want what's good
for
full
itself.
Stop.
Yeah. Oh,
the soul wants what's good for yourself. When you say, I want to get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
Do you, your soul, want to get out of bed in the morning, or does your body want to get out of bed in the morning?
Oh, definitely my soul. I think.
Your soul wants to get out
my
of bed
body
in the morning.
is
Your body's
nice
saying,
and warm.
It's 50 degrees. I'm snuggling in my blanket.
Oh, that's really not going to translate for anyone not in Los Angeles.
No,
like,
maybe
50 degrees. That's cold for you,
maybe
California.
Minnesota.
Yeah. In Minnesota, it's 50 degrees. Let's get outside. Let's go have a good day.
That's summer weather over there.
Yeah, 50 degrees. Oh,
you're from Minnesota, right?
I am from Minnesota.
Okay.
I think I still to this day prefer like somewhere in that range. Like I don't like when it's too hot. I think I'm built like a Siberian. Like,
you're Russian too.
Yeah,
I'm from
Soviet,
Ukrainian.
Yeah.
So
I'm built for the cold weather to withstand great low temperatures.
Duh. So back to what we were talking about.
Death.
Maybe I should give a background, and I'll try to do it in a short, concise manner.
Impossible.
We, in Judaism, how does our Jewish story start? It starts in Bereshit, Genesis. It starts with the 7 days of creation, but that's not our topic of conversation.
Right.
And then it jumps into the story of Adam and Eve. Adam v'Chava.
Mm-hmm.
We believe that Eve came from the bone of Adam.
Right.
And
a really cool magic trick.
Right?
Like that's impressive. And as a magician, I still don't know how he did it.
God spoke to Adam and said, you have one job in this world. Your one job is to work the garden, guard the garden, and don't eat from the tree of knowledge of good and bad. Everything else you can do in that garden, but you have to not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and bad.
Okay.
We, as Adam, we were face to face with God in that garden. We came into this world as a soul, a complete soul.
With no body?
We were a complete soul, but we didn't have the temptation of yet the body, which was a part of us at that point. So you're going to say, Rabbi, what the heck did you just say? We were a body,
yeah,
but we had the inclination to do good all of the time and be at one with God all the time. Temptation, desire wasn't an inherent part of who we were when we were first put in the garden.
Okay. So we were more of a consciousness than we were a physical thing.
Correct.
But at the time, Adam still needed to eat. You know, he still had
correct
desire, and I wonder at which point.
So proof of that is that Adam was in the garden, and it says in the Torah, in the Old Testament,
right,
that he stood in the garden naked, but he wasn't aware that he was naked. So when you and I, unless you're part of a nudist colony,
I'm very aware when I'm naked. Like, wow, I really wish I had more clothes on.
If most of us were to walk downtown LA, which we are in downtown LA, naked, there would be an awareness.
We'd be part of like 20% of people who do that all the time, unfortunately.
And I would imagine that most people, not the 20%,
right,
would have some form of awareness that they are not clothed,
right,
and that they are exposing themselves, which would indicate there's a distinct shame. Exactly, there's a distinction between.
But is shame a good thing?
No, shame is not a good thing.
But shame. Okay, let's think about it. Let's think about children. You know, like I've been to a friend's house who has young kids, and all of a sudden just a little child will run across the living room completely naked, like post bath time, doesn't even think about it.
Amazing. So you are walking in, you're setting me up, bump set spike, bang. We didn't rehearse this, but you are setting this up for a conversation. Why does a 1.5-year-old, 2-year-old not feel any shame when they are running around through the house?
Right.
Why at a certain time in our lives
do we
we start developing a state of awareness that we are a body, or that we have a body that is standing here naked right now, and we feel embarrassed, we feel shame, we feel I need to cover myself up?
I think it's interesting though that it's like, once you develop an awareness of your body, you then realize that you don't want it to be exposed. It's kind of a weird thing to consider. I mean, why is it that just having there's a difference, I think, between recognizing that you have a body and then recognizing that it's not okay for that body to be exposed.
Correct. And where did that come from?
I don't know.
And that's goes back to our question. I was giving the background in Genesis that there was Adam and there was Eve. Adam was in the garden as a soul that didn't have any form of shame, embarrassment. There wasn't a distinction between his body and his soul. He was just a complete entity of a soul, meaning all he wanted to do was to do good, connect with God, connect with a deeper sense of purpose, meaning, and connection with God.
Right.
So we talked about this in a previous episode.
But as soon as he developed an awareness for his body, those goals shifted?
Correct. So there was something that was put in the garden.
The apple. I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
There was something that was put in the garden that acted as a test for Adam.
Yeah.
There was something that was put in the garden that was meant to be a test. And what was that sparring partner, we'll call him? The sparring partner was called the snake. The snake was an external force that was put in the garden that was meant to challenge Adam and all of his views, all of his morals, all of his values, and shake it up a little bit.
Okay.
So
the snake was there to help Adam attain awareness of his body?
No. He was there to... Life would be too easy if it was smooth sailing,
right?
Coasting all the time. There would
so
be
God invented conflict.
God invented conflict to challenge man, so man would then have free will.
Would choose good rather than just
doing good.
Okay.
So in this case, it would just be
up the level for no reason. We could have been playing life on easy mode, and God was like, "Nope, intermediate."
And that's the thing, is that would we have really appreciated God
if life was in easy mode?
If life was in easy mode all the time. So God.
So the conflict. Sorry, I'm just trying to think through it all. So that means that conflict is the thing that actually brings us closer to God, in some ways.
And going back to our pain talk,
right?
Do we wish upon pain in our lives?
No,
but there are occurrences in life, there are situations in life, there are conflicts in life that we now need to actively choose and say, am I going to be elevated if I make the right decision here? Or am I going to be lowering myself, which is going to take me further away from my purpose at that moment and having connectivity from God? So essentially that's what the snake was in the garden.
Okay.
The garden was a challenge. The snake was a test. The snake was meant to trip up man. And what ended up happening is that the snake told man, you are not allowed to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and bad. Comes along Eve.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where it gets a little bit dicey and a little bit confusing. Is that
it's already a little
bit confusing, so I'm trying my best.
No, it's not. The thing that I think I find confusing, because I understand all of the things you're saying. I'm trying to reconcile in my head this idea that the body is the thing that makes us want the bad.
I haven't explained it yet, by the way.
Okay, maybe
I
that's why.
I haven't even gotten there yet.
Okay.
So I'm trying my best.
And then I'm trying to think in my head, like, how is this going to relate to dying and the life afterwards? This is
okay.
Stay tuned, folks. We're getting there.
We're
crawling up the
the ladder right now. So man ends up telling Eve, woman, he doesn't tell her the truth. He builds a fence.
Classic man.
A classic man.
He lying to the woman.
He didn't communicate properly.
Also classic.
And what did he tell Eve, which was not true? He said, by the way, you're not also allowed to touch the tree.
Oh, okay.
You're not allowed to touch the tree. So what ended up happening is that comes along the snake, comes to Eve and bumps Eve, and she ends up touching the tree.
The snake with its elbow.
The snake, they say, by the way, at the time was a walking entity. Yes.
Oh, you know what? You're right. This makes it way less confusing. Oh, yes. The snake with the legs, of course. Yes. Right. The snake with the legs on the tree. Of course. Okay.
Let's take things for a given right now.
Yeah. How many legs did it have? I'm just imagining a long snake with little legs in the back.
The snake ends up bumping Eve.
Okay.
She ends up touching the tree. And by the way, what did man tell Eve?
Don't touch it.
Don't touch it. Snake
But
comes
that wasn't true.
That
You
wasn't
could
true.
touch it.
You could touch it. You
just
can't
can't
just
eat
eat
it.
from it.
Yeah.
But man, to try to build a fence around this, said, don't go anywhere near it. Don't touch it.
Oh, so he was trying to be cautious. He was like,
Trying to
don't
be
even go
cautious.
near it. You don't even worry about it. I mean, it's a big garden. Why is she hanging around with the
But
tree?
he didn't explain the fence behind it. Comes along the snake, which is meant to trip you up in life and is meant to find the fault in everything in life, will start messing with you.
Okay.
And will start making you believe things which are in fact not true.
Okay.
So what happened was snake bumps Eve. She bumps into the tree and she thought she was going to die.
Yeah.
Snake says, you just touched the tree.
You're okay.
Nothing happened to you.
The snake was like, this guy's been gaslighting you.
He's been gaslighting you because you were able to touch the tree and nothing happens to you must mean that you can eat from the tree as well and nothing is going to happen to you.
Clever snake.
Clever snake.
Maybe it's a good thing that snakes don't have legs anymore because these legged snakes are very clever.
So he convinced the woman that you can also eat from the tree as well. She ends up eating from the tree, convinces man nothing is going to happen.
good.
He eats from the tree as well. And now here's where the downfall for all of humanity starts.
Okay.
They eat from the tree of knowledge of good and bad. Comes along God. Now, by the way, God knows everything. God sees everything. God ends up confronting man and woman and says, what did you do? And by the way, he says, before he says, what did you do? He says, where are you?
What do you mean? I'm in the garden, the only place that exists.
But what did they do? They went to go hide.
Oh, after they ate from the
After
tree.
they went to go hide. Something happened.
Wait, but you said the tree is the tree of knowledge of good and bad. So does that mean that the tree had some sort of what? I mean, it's just called that, or does it have?
So there was also another tree there first. There was another tree in the garden that I failed to mention what that tree was. It was called the tree of life.
Oh yeah, I've heard of this tree.
So there's the tree of life,
famous
and
trees.
then there's also the tree of knowledge of good and bad.
Okay.
You are supposed to eat from the tree of life,
not the other one.
not from the tree of knowledge of good and bad. But I haven't yet explained yet to you. We're still
climbing.
progressing.
We're climbing.
Man and woman ended up hiding.
Okay.
And basically God said, where are you? And they were scouring.
Okay.
But God sees them.
Yeah. Sees everything.
Implying, what are you hiding from at this point? What
Right.
are you hiding from? You must feel something that you didn't feel before.
Shame.
So,
Because they did something bad and they feel, well, is it shame or remorse or is it?
so what ends up happening is that by eating from the tree of knowledge of good and bad, here's the punchline. From eating from the tree of knowledge of good and bad, essentially what they did is they took temptation and desire, which was an external factor
Right.
in the world, by eating from something that they weren't supposed to eat from first. They brought desire and temptation and they made it inherently now part of who they were in their genetic makeup. So now temptation and desire, which was external, now became an internal part of who they were. And now every decision that they were going to make from that point onward was between their body
Good and bad.
Their soul, am I making the right decision or am I making the wrong decision? Am I going to listen to what my body, my lowest, basest part of who I am is telling me what to do? Falling victim to the classic, I got to stay in bed another 10 minutes. I got to hook up with that girl even though I know it's not good for me. Or have another drag of that cigarette. Or do what my soul tells me what it is to do the right thing.
But let me ask you this.
So that all becomes a true free will decision now at this point.
But here's my thought is that Does Eve eat from that tree because she's hungry or because she's curious? Because what is the need? Like as so she's hanging out, right? There's the tree of life. Maybe she's hungry. She can go eat.
Well,
from
there's
there.
the tree of life, and there's a tree of knowledge of good and bad.
And she's hanging out by the tree of knowledge and good and bad. No intention to eat anything. No intention to even touch it. Here comes this weird leggy snake, and the weird leggy snake's like, "Hey, you can touch," and it bumps her right into this tree. Hey, now that you can touch it, you can eat from it too. Does she choose to eat because she's like hungry and wants to eat? Or is it because the snake's like, you could, and she just wants to test the theory? Like the motivation of why she eats from the tree to begin with is kind of interesting to me.
The latter, what you said.
The desire.
So
the curiosity of, well, if this is true, then this is true?
So
what, curiosity killed the cat.
So what does the tree of knowledge of good and bad represent? And what does the tree of life represent? If you eat, you're allowed to eat from the tree of life first. And then you can eat from the tree of knowledge of good and bad.
Oh, so they hadn't eaten from the tree of life?
No. So what does the tree of life represent? The tree of life represents a soul connection to truth. A true connection to real wisdom, which would be having a life living purely spiritual, living with God. And we would call that in Judaism, living a life of Torah, which in a sense is attaining wisdom
from the tree
from what God is expounding to you and transmitting to you. Whereas the tree of knowledge of good and bad, what does that represent? It represents experience, putting things under my belt without necessarily having the full picture of wisdom, of living life with spirituality, of living life with real attainment to that there's a time to everything, turn, there's a season, turn. There's a time and a place to live with God and to live with spirituality and to live with, you know what? I'm at one with God. And if God tells me to do this, I'm going to trust him, believe him, and do it. Whereas the tree of knowledge of good and bad says, I know better. I know what life is all about. I need to have the experience. I need to trip, stumble, and fall first. And once I've experienced that, I know better. So essentially what God said was, okay, you know better, then going forward, you're going to now need to figure it out for yourself. And it's not going to be as easy going forward.
But God introduced conflict, so wouldn't he want that? Conflict is good. Conflict builds character. Conflict builds experience.
But God wanted us to make the right decision first.
Had Adam eaten from the tree of life yet?
No.
But you said that he had to. You can eat from the tree of life and then from the tree of knowledge and of good and bad. Right?
Learn what you need to learn.
Tree of life, then knowledge.
Learn,
of good and bad,
learn
right?
from Torah. Learn from sages. Learn from rabbis. Learn from coaches. Learn from.
But if they wanted to eat from the tree of good and bad, and Adam knew that he had to eat from the tree of life first, why didn't he just go like, yeah, you want to try this? No worries. Let's go eat from this tree and we'll come back and we'll eat from this tree.
Because the conflict, the snake, tripped Adam up to such a point where he started believing in something false and something wrong. And that's what God did. God put out a sparring partner that is there to want to kill you. And at times, you might know, all of us, humanity, might know the answer. We know what is good for us. But we also have that conflict out there that can trip us up so badly that we can believe something completely opposite 5 minutes later and say, I thought that was the right move.
Right.
And we'd be like, but wait a minute, 5 minutes ago, you said something completely 180 degrees differently, and you knew that was the right thing to do. But now you're completely tripped up. How did that happen?
The body, right?
The body.
The body's desire.
The body's desire can flip us up so much and say, yeah, I I can do that and I'll be fine.
It makes sense, right? If you like blow that out to, like the pursuit of money, right? The pursuit of money primarily is a body thing because you want comfort. You want to have a big house. You want to go eat fancy food at fancy restaurants, drive a comfortable car. That's all body stuff, right?
It's all body stuff.
And
our soul wants to be learning wisdom, real wisdom. We can say, how is that possible? How can I sit and learn Torah, the wisdom of God, all day long? 10 hours a day sitting there? I'm going to get tired. I'm going to need to stand up. I don't know how I have the focus. I don't know if I have the due diligence to sit there. My ADHD, it's going to get the best of me because you know what? Our body gets in the way. Our body is telling us, you're going to die sitting here for 10 hours to try to learn the wisdom.
But where do we fit in the idea that in order to so I'm thinking about this from a perspective like of an artist, for example. In my line of work, I hit burnout all the time, where I am so in pursuant nature of knowledge and exceptional artistry and whatever, that sometimes I don't treat my body to comfort. And so I think that in some ways you do need to offer your body enough comfort to be able to focus your mind on Torah study.
Where does burnout, in your scenario, where's burnout coming from?
It comes from the fact that I have been working too hard, focusing too much on creating, and I forget to take care of myself.
I'm going to get you right now. When you say myself, I'm forgetting to take care of myself. When you say myself, what are you referring to?
My body. Like I don't get enough sleep. No?
You're forgetting to take care of your soul. So what ends up happening is that you are too focused on your body. And when you forget about your soul and taking care of your soul, then it just becomes about the body. And your body becomes too tired, too burnt out. If you focus on your soul and what your soul needs, then you're more balanced. And that's what will get you out of bed in the morning. Because you're filling you're filling yourself, the desire, the real deeper meaning behind what is Greg Berman all about. What does Greg Berman really need to live in this world? Greg Berman needs meaning, needs purpose, needs potential. But what do you forget? What are you thinking about? Paying the bills, money. You're thinking about, I'm tired.
I'd like to think.
And so what happens is you're saying, I'm tired. You're not tired. Your body is tired.
Right.
And therefore, I need some R&R, which essentially what you're saying is I need to
give my soul a minute to
need to give my soul a minute to decompress and figure out, what am I really living for? What is my purpose in all of this? It's the people who have that real deeper vision, that real deeper, I'm doing this for something deeper than just myself.
Right.
I'm doing this for God. I'm doing this for the pursuit.
Then you won't attain burnout?
You will not attain burnout as fast because you're remembering what it is that is getting you out of bed in the morning. I'm so excited. I'm so passionate. I'm so alive that how would I get tired?
But that is
because
how I feel.
I'm not focusing on my body.
But that is how I feel about the pursuit. For me, the pursuit of art, whatever that might look like, is that kind of passion of discovering something greater than myself. For me, the idea of coming up with a funny thing or writing something good or creating a good movie or story or something, for me,
that's you when you're living.
That's a higher level. Like that's me getting closer to a spirituality.
That's living.
I feel like it's a religious experience for me.
That's the second level of pleasure that we
yeah.
talked about. Power and creativity. You are most like God. You are going to connect more altruistically to your deeper purpose because you are being godlike.
But that's the thing that exhausts me sometimes, is I'm so focused on doing all of that.
You're focused on I need to get my stuff out there. I need to get picked up. I need to become an influencer. I need to be a creative individual who's going to get noticed and validated from other people. And that's what's going to burn you out. But if you were just a true artist and you had all the money in the world and you didn't have to worry about paying your bills, you would not get burnt out, because you would wake up and it would be the real altruism of saying, what is getting me out of bed in the morning? My real creativity.
You're seeing it right here, folks. I'm a changed man. I agree. That's interesting. You're right. You're right. You're right. The thing that burns me out is not my pursuit of beauty through art, but my urgency to do it now and to do it faster and to do it better so that I can sustain my life. And that need to make money from it. You're right. If I didn't have to make money, if money was not a part of the equation at all, or at least survival, let's say that, because money, I think, is one piece of survival as a whole. It takes a lot more than just money to survive at this point, you know? If that wasn't a part of it, and I was just creating art for the sake of fulfilling my creative desires, you're right. I would pace myself. I would do it when I needed to. I would take the time to relax. I would take the time to give my soul a minute to just spend time with my family, spend time with people that I love, right? Because I have the time to do that. And then I practice art at a time that makes sense for me, because I don't do that kind of stuff. I don't write or do comedy or any of that stuff I don't do it for money. I mean, I need to, because I need to be able to survive. But I do it because I love it. I would do it for free, and I do.
So now God has created a world where we are juggling those two things, body and pursuit of the weight of this world versus actually living from our soul.
I love that.
And what ends up happening is that now, and I didn't give you now the rest of the story from Adam and Eve.
Well, before you say that, I want to say this. I think that's really interesting, just because I don't want to lose this idea that we are always in search of something that fulfills our soul, and it's important to do it in a way that doesn't exhaust our body. So it's like there's no urgency to fulfill our soul. We have all the time in the world to get closer to God or closer to whatever it is that our soul, our consciousness wants, right? The tree of life. There's no time limit on that. The only time limit imposed on attaining that fulfillment is the body. And because of that, because of now that this is the new level 2.0. This was not how the world was intended to be. God wanted us not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and bad first. God wanted it to be that we were holding hands with God and one-on-one, like Justin Timberlake, front stage, front and center. Just felt like I needed to.
It's God and man at all times. There wasn't going to be this barrier of the body which was going to inhibit our true connection to God. So what ends up happening is that now that this is now the rules of the game, where the body is now a part of our lives, a huge part of our lives.
Right.
It's also now the body has more weight than the soul, meaning the rules aren't fair. The body is going to be louder than the soul. And it is our job to taper and tame the body so the soul is louder than the body. What ends up happening is, because of now the new set of rules, and because man said, I don't need you, God, right here, right now. God was like, not punishing you, but said, you seem to know better. Then it's going to be that going forward, your body is going to be such an active role in your lives. You're going to have to really be conscious to try to tame your body in order to bring your soul out.
That's interesting.
And we will see, I'm making up a number, 9 times out of 10, most people will choose their body over their soul, because it's so much louder.
9 rabbis out of 10 recommend that your body is louder. That's a really interesting point. I think about this. There was I like to read a lot of books about awareness and understanding the way our minds work and all of that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I read about that was really interesting was about how when you have a craving for something. So, for example, like I love candy. If there's candy in the house,
What's your favorite?
which category?
Mike and Ike?
We're talking chocolate or gummies. I mean, if we're in the chocolate world, Kinder Buenos. Oh, they're so good. The hazelnut. And then they have like a little hippo that they make. Oh, it's great.
But I digress.
But I take, see, now I want candy. I have to stop myself. Every time I go in a gas station, I have to like avoid the candy aisle because I can't help myself. It's like a true addiction. It's really serious. It's really serious. You guys, please help.
Listen, I'm a coach, by the way. We can talk about
we need to talk about this. And I know it's a self-soothing thing, all of that kind of stuff. But one of the things that I've learned when you have cravings like that, I have found this sort of pleasure in recognizing that I want candy and then saying no to myself and then committing to that no and moving forward. The discomfort that I feel in that, I've turned into pleasure because I am proud of myself for saying no. And I find that pride and the pleasure of saying no to something that I know isn't good for me. Like, I know that I'm not hungry. The reason that my body wants candy is because it's a easy source of energy, right? It's a quick hit of carbohydrates, probably some dopamine because it tastes good, all of that kind of stuff, right? And I have found that if I can contain that because I know that I don't need this candy for survival, I know that I want it because I just want something sweet. And again, I still eat candy, but I moderate. The feeling of moderation, the feeling of saying, I don't want this now, I don't need this right now, and moving forward, I have tricked my body into liking that feeling.
Correct.
And it's a really interesting thing, this sort of, it's almost like every time I hold myself back and exert self-discipline,
yes,
I find
correct
myself closer to
and what
my
is when you say I find
form.
myself closer, what is that is finding itself closer? Your soul.
My soul. Yeah, my soul is happy
able to
that I'm growing in that moment.
Correct.
In
and you're
that
getting
moment,
closer to your ultimate, more self-evolved purpose. And rather than listening to the base,
I want this Kinder Bueno immediately.
You don't need it. No.
I don't need it.
My soul needs connection.
Right.
And if I'm going to be able to tame my body and tell myself right now that I need this for real survival, to grasp something deeper, something more sustainable, rather than this Kinder Bueno.
Right.
That's
when you say it like that, you make it sound so bad. Kinder Bueno. It sounded so angry. I've never heard that word said so
I don't need some Kinder Bueno
in my life. It sounds so funny
look,
when you're...
I'll tell you the same thing. If we're on the same topic of conversation,
What's your vice, Rabbi?
I swim 3 times a week. And it's become, I'm Jewish and that is my religion, but as part of my religion, as part of my day to day, is that if a week goes by and I don't swim 3 times a week, anywhere from 1,250 yards to 1,500 yards, which is 50 laps to 60 laps.
Okay, let's flex on everyone here for a second.
Just for a second. Then
That's incredible. I didn't know that.
I do that.
I've known you for so long. I've never known that about you.
Since my incident last summer.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
You had your incident, your bike incident for another time.
I remember that.
I had a near life or death situation.
Yeah.
And I had to ask myself some deeper questions. Obviously, God can take us out of this world whenever. But I felt that I needed to do something more of my part to feel like my soul was attaining more connection to God so my body would be healthier.
Right.
But again, God can take me out anytime. But here's the thing. Before I go to the gym to swim, I literally dread it. I swim. I enjoy swimming. But I dread going in the pool. And by the way, I'm getting better every time I swim. But I dread it. Why do I dread it?
because it's for the same, it's the burn. It's the same thing that I was talking about earlier, because you have so much to do. You have all these things you need to take care of, that taking the time away from all of that hustle and bustle of the body. I got to do this and I got to call these people and make these phone calls. And swimming is something that enhances your soul. So you have to take yourself away from all these other things like making money and all this stuff to go and do something for your soul.
Correct. And also the body, and I said this, the body, and again, wants to be lazy to some extent. Yeah. It's your soul that pushes you to go to Equinox. Right. Your soul that pushes you to go to the gym, because you're dreading it. Your body is at that point saying, I can't do this. I'm going to die. And you know what? I feel when I'm huffing and puffing in the pool and I'm pushing it because my soul is telling me, push, push, push. My body's saying death, death, death. But when I get out of the pool,
you feel
30
like
minutes later,
$1,000,000.
I feel like on
top of the world.
$1 million. By the way, I already swam 3 times this week, so I feel good. I'm here the rest of the week. I feel like I did what I was supposed to do. Yeah. I'm alive. I did what I was supposed to do. I did what I was supposed to do to connect to something greater, something more than just this base body of fat.
You're not.
Craig.
Okay. All right. No, I get that. I think I actually feel that a lot with cold plunges. We talked about that in one of the episodes. The cold plunge is the same thing. You know, I hate stepping into cold water. It's so uncomfortable. But when I was introduced to the idea of the cold plunge and the sort of the concentration, the discipline it takes to step into it, feel this discomfort, accept the discomfort, know it's not going to kill you, get deeper into the discomfort, and then sit with the discomfort for 3 whole minutes or whatever it might be. That process, it sucks. And that's my body going, stop. I'd rather go have some Kinder Buenos and sit on the couch.
Kinder Buenos
and sit on the couch. But my soul is saying, the way you're going to feel, it's almost as if your soul is much more aware of the benefits of certain things than your body. Your soul can sort of see the long-term effect of something a lot easier, or if there's like a knowledge in your soul to the long-term effect of something more so than the body. It's almost like the body is all short-term memory and the soul is the long-term memory.
Correct.
It's like your body's like, it only sees a minute into the future. I eat this Kinder Bueno, and I'm happy. I go hook up with this girl, and I'm happy in that moment. And
short term,
it's cool,
5th class pleasure.
Right.
There's a counterfeit. It's not necessarily when we. It's a harsh example, but when I do drugs, I might feel good essentially with those drugs because it might make me feel elevated. It might make me feel that I'm being spiritually elevated.
All hypothetical.
When
I do drugs.
Speaking for a friend or any other thing that could be looked at as a drug.
And no one here is like, I bet that guy does a lot of drugs. There's not a single person watching this podcast.
But you're not really connecting to God.
Yeah.
It's just connecting to your body. And that's ultimately it. But let me get back to the story of Adam and Eve, and then we'll tie this in.
I think that I think we should save the life after death to a whole nother episode, because I think we've had a really interesting discussion just about body versus soul. I mean, I think that alone has been, because I still don't really know how this ties in to life after death, but okay. I guess everyone they should wait for the next episode.
This was a class, or this was a talk on body versus soul. And basically balancing between your body versus your soul. And talking about it in relation to Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
And the next episode we'll pick up from this point of Adam and Eve and how that has to do with life after death. And we'll go there.
Yeah, but I think that's interesting. I think it's interesting too that it almost feels kind of apropos that we got into a discussion, we had this idea. We want to talk about life after death. And that idea was, of the body. It really wasn't anything other than, we've got this podcast and we got to keep people interested. And the way that we do that is by giving them some. But then we got into a whole nother conversation about body versus soul, which is very elevating. I feel like I've learned something really important today about myself, which is to say that, it's like we were on a trip of the body when we sat down in these chairs because we had a thought. This is what we got to do. We got to make sure we talk about this thing for the podcast, blah, 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 all of this stuff. But what we actually ended up talking about was something that we needed to talk about. We got to a place that actually elevated the conversation.
Tune in next time.
Wow.
Show and Teller.
And Teller. Show and Teller. I'm a new man.
Amazing.
I'm a new man. I feel lighter.
Good. All right. That was good.